Hi, my name is Jeff Abertazzi, and thanks for letting me share my journey through Toro's innovative learning program and my Capstone website. Here on my homepage, you will get a glimpse into the background on why I wanted to look into student clarity. The last couple of years, Napa Valley Unified has not only switched to the next generation science standards like most of the country, but we have also adapted the integrated science model for middle schools. So not only have the standards changed, but where and when they are taught in middle school has changed also. In short, everything we are teaching is new. In comes the professional development given by Michael McDowell 2 years ago. He shared and stressed how, according to John Hattie, teacher and student clarity had a huge effect size on student learning. If getting a clear understanding of what was to be taught was the first thing I had to do, then I figured it would also be the foundation for students learning the new science standards. Let's take a look at my capstone video for a quick introduction. Over the 17 years that I have been teaching, one thing that I've learned is the education landscape and technology are always changing. Our students of today are just different from those of just a few years ago. Imagine traveling to a different country and trying to navigate a subway system in a different language. It can be frustrating because you have no clear understanding of how the system works. Here's where technology comes into play to help us get a clear understanding of what is needed and what is expected to have a successful trip. According to John Hattie's research, teacher and student clarity has a huge effect on student learning. But how do we know if students are clear? How can we help them be clear on what they are learning or ask for help if they are not learning? Digging into my research on student clarity, I found the answer was there all along. Once the path was laid, we just needed to utilize these digital platforms and skills that our students are already using and accustomed to. These can give our students a chance to show that they are clear on their learning objectives and how they are going to show they have learned them. So what it comes down to, it's not the tools you use, but how they are used. And if clarity is a foundation for student learning, then we need to embrace and utilize the technology to achieve this goal. Check out my website for a few ideas on how to do this. I want to thank Napa Learns for the opportunity, the great staff at Toro University, and the amazing members of cohorts 13 and 15. My initial action research was on the impact concept maps have on student clarity. Through the process, I started to see the value in using digital tools and evolved my driving question to just that. After the first round of research, my driving question became, and still is, and probably always will be, how can digital platforms help students gain clarity on the learning objectives and success criteria? Also on the research page, you will find my capstone poster summarizing my research and findings. Come on out to Toro campus next week to see the life-size version in person. Also on this page, you will find a video presentation of my action research and my research paper. As you can see on the assessments page, using digital tools had a positive impact on student learning. The graph shows some pre- and post-test data on an ecosystems unit we did while using the digital tools for checking if students were clear throughout the unit. Here is an example of a Google Surveys form I used to get student feedback. Students' feedback was relatively positive. Kids also mentioned in conversation that it reduced the stress level, and that is something that I thought I had noticed as well. As I continue to get student feedback, I will add this to the survey. The number of views in the Flipgrid program is a great indicator that the students were using the digital platforms to see if they were clear on what they were doing. Students mentioned that it helped them if they were confused and confirm if they knew what they were doing. I liked using Padlet so I could get a quick check to see if they were clear, but it turned out to have the same effect as Flipgrid. They were using each other's responses to answer their own questions. Self-guided learning. One of the pages that I think is the most valuable is the lessons page. Here you will find quick links to the digital tools that were explored and a quick description of how they were used in the context of student clarity. Also here on the lessons page, you can find the link to the how-to page, where tutorials on how to get programs started and how they're used in a classroom setting. It's definitely worth checking out. On the Learn More page, you will find the infographic I created. When all said and done, I came up with these 5 easy steps. This acts as a nice reminder when developing units and lessons. You can also find a video presentation of how I used a few tools like Flipgrid and Poll Everywhere. I also wanted to take a second to point out my TPAC page. One of my huge takeaways from this program was how to use technology as part of the learning process and not just as a substitution for learning tasks. Since we have to design all of our curriculum in science, learning how to blend technical content and pedagogical knowledge has helped me be more clear in presenting the learning outcomes and success criteria. Therefore, the students are more clear on what they are learning. As the learning process never ends, I would like to continue to find different ways for students to show they are clear on the learning objectives or be able to gain clarity if they are not. I would also like to get better and continue to pursue ways to measure if students are clear on what they are learning. I will continue to share my successes and failures with colleagues as we all try to grow as educators and ultimately do what's best for our students. And once again, I want to thank Eudora University and Apple Learns for this opportunity. Cohort 15 for all your support, laughs, and making me one of your own. All the members of 13, couldn't have done it without you guys as well. And of course, my family, my wife Becky, who talked me into this craziness, and my daughter Stella, who put up with all my time in front of the computer.